Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to show you 3 tips that you can use to improve your average. Alright guys, so the first tip is going to sound very simple, but it can cause a lot of good impact in your game. So the first one is staying balanced at the line. If you focus on staying balanced as a line or posting your shot, it can really improve the quality of the shots you make. So sometimes as bowlers, we're focusing so hard on throwing it super hard or trying to get the most reps out of the ball. But in reality, when you try to focus on posting at the line, you're going to be able to execute much better shots. You're going to be more consistent. And in order to be consistent and hitting the pocket consistently, you need to be stable at the line. That's going to mean more good executed shots. And in the long run, that's going to help you to improve your average. So now we're going to go to the foul line, and I'm going to show you a couple tips so you can stay balanced at the line. So when it comes to posting your shots, it's really important to have that knee bend and also focusing on keeping your trail leg down on the floor. So that's going to help you to post your shot better, and it's going to help you to consistently make better shots. Alright guys, so the second tip is lane play. So you can be the greatest bowler, you can execute great shots, but if you don't know where you're throwing that ball, it can be really hard for you to score. So you got to learn in your own game where you should be playing on the lane, or also how you should transition. So depending if you're bowling league, how do you bowl game 1 is gonna look totally different how you bowl game 3. So you gotta be aware of those situations, and you gotta learn how to adjust to the transition. So one thing that comes to lane play is that every time that you come into the bowling alley, the lanes are going to play different. That's why sometimes you have like amazing weeks, and then the next week you may have like a terrible week because you're expecting to do the same thing as every time you did good. But you got to come to the bowling alley with an open mind and be ready to adjust depending on the conditions. Alright guys, so now the other part of lane play, you gotta understand your equipment. When it comes to your equipment, it's really important to you learn how it works for you. So for example, if you have like your strongest ball, you gotta be able to build upon that and have different options so you know which ball you're gonna go after the first one that you have, and then you gotta have a good progression. So you have a ball that hooks early, and then you keep going until a ball that is really clean for where the lanes are really dry. So knowing that into your own game, knowing your balls to your game, is gonna be a huge advantage whenever you go out on league and to a tournament. Alright guys, so now we're gonna go to the lanes, and I'm gonna show you what I look for when I try to get lined up and how my progression would go in a normal tournament or league. So when it comes to lane play, what I like to do is always try to find the friction first. So once I find the friction, I just try to move left off of it until I hit the pocket. And then once I'm lined up and I'm hitting the pocket consistently, now I can fine tune and try to find the right ball that I need to throw to get better through the pocket. Also, one important thing when you're playing like on a sport shot, for example, it's really important to try to play it as right as possible, because sometimes those patterns are going to try to force you left, or if you're throwing a very strong ball and it's trying to force you left quickly, it might mean trouble. You might have no margin of error. So it's really important to try to get as right as possible in the beginning, and then you keep progressing left after that, especially like when the lanes are a little bit harder. Alright guys, so the third tip is a very important one, and it's going to be probably the easiest way that you can improve your scores, which is improving your spares. So when it comes to spares, it's really important to have a system that works for you. Some people like to hook at the spares, which in-house is actually a good thing. If you hook the opposite hand spares, it's going to be easier. But also some people like to throw in straight. I throw them straight just because I learned my system and that's the way I practice it. So you gotta make sure that you pick the system that works for you. So one key for me when shooting at spares is flattening out my release so I can shoot them straight. So I'm going to show you a quick drill on how do I release the ball for spares, so you can try to replicate that if you want to. So when I'm trying to throw the ball straight, it's really important to focus on one thing. Usually we're trying to get our ball underneath, or get our fingers underneath the equator of the ball so we can have enough reps. In this case, because we're trying to throw it straight, simply we want to have it above the equator of the ball. That's gonna reduce revolutions, and it's gonna help us to literally throw it straight. We're focusing simply on rolling the ball forward, and that's gonna reduce the amount of reps and rotation. Alright guys, so thank you so much for watching. Please let us know in the comments what do you think, what other videos would you like to see on this channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video.